Oh, last week when we ended the class, this is what we had. And I should actually, when we ended the class, this is what we had at the end of the class. And tonight I said we will finish the painting. But there are, oh, I need to admit this, different from this here because it's not as finished. So tonight I would like us to take the evening just to paint and finish the red bird. I will be painting on the red bird. If you have a different bird and would like to paint on your own bird, that's good too. Or I found this example of this other bird that is interesting, and I've actually changed this one. This was my demonstration that I did this afternoon. Do you think it's a cardinal?
Yeah.
Cardinal, isn't it?
Cardinal.
Yeah.
Cardinal. It looks neat. But anyway, so I was going to finish doing the and if any of you want to continue painting this bird, you can look at this one. Sorry that the paintbrushes are in the way. Oh well. There's only so much room on this table here. All right, so my cardinal is starting to look pretty good. I had to move the branch up because for the cardinal, the legs are very minute, very short from this angle anyway. So I'm moving my branch up. So since I've moved my branch up, now I have to repaint that bottom part here. I did a first coat before you guys came on, but I need another coat to hide. I'm hiding the previous branch that I had. All right, so I'm just using some green with just a tiny bit of red in it. So this is how you can move a branch, Barbara, if you ever wanted to move your branch. You can just paint on top of the old branch. Same thing, the beak was over here. I moved it over there. And I even had signed it, painting over my signature. Okay. So this green that I'm using is just a mix of ultramarine and yellow, no white. And because our primary yellow is quite strong, it's covering this brown that I had under. All right. Now to paint this section here that appears to be black, I used a combination of my green and red. I did not use black. And it looks pretty dark. I did 2 coats so far. One more coat and it will look extremely dark. Now on the beak here, I used red and I put some yellow in it and a little white, but not a whole lot. And it gave me this. Now on this tree trunk, I had used my brown that I made with a combination of green and red. And now I've added a little bit of white to give it a little bit of nuance on the tree trunk. So under the wing here, there's some shadowy area on the cardinal that I'm going to paint now. Looking for my green, my red brush. So to make this shadowy area, I've started making it like this a little bit. I'm going to paint another coat of it. Simply put some red and I mix it with some green. Not too much green. I still want it to be red, but I put a little bit of green in it. And it gives me a little bit of a darker red. And it actually goes this way. And it goes here like this. There is a dark spot as well on the tail. It's right in the middle right here. It's kind of a dark line. The middle, yeah. And over here, there's some darkness. So this is all my red mixed with a little bit of green. And for some reason, on top of this bird, the wing is darker. So I'm using that same color and painting with pretty thick paint and not too much water in my paint. And since I still have some on my brush, there's a little bit of shadow right here under in this area and along the dark side right here. There's some darkness here above a little bit like this. What about the little ones? The little ones are, I think it could be a little brighter. So now I'm using some red and I'm adding just a teeny little bit of yellow to it. And I'm just dabbing on it. I know that yours, the ones that you did, Barbara, are very precise and all, but I'm just indicating them as a bunch. I'm not being too precise about that. All right, and under here, for some reason, there's some light there. So I'm going to use some of my red, add just a little bit of yellow to it, and just a teeny little bit of white. And put it here. It's just the way that it is. In this example. And the head needs to be lighter as well. So I'm adding a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white on the head to brighten it up. I wanted to tell you guys also that I've opened the next session that will start on Monday and Tuesday. It's the same classes but different subject matters. If you're interested, you can let me know to join. It's going to be another 3-week class. If you're interested, you can let me know before the end of this class or at the end of this class. And I'll just take your name down and you'll be registered. Now there is some highlights in the tail. I'm just putting it like this. I like that. And I'm changing a little bit what it looks like. But in the example there's a nice pattern here on the top that is really hard to reproduce. So I'm not even going to attempt, I don't think. There's some light here under. And the eye, I didn't do the eye, but before I do the eye, I'm going to do another layer of that nice mix of red and green on the dark area around the eye. So I'm just here, just putting this here. Okay. Ooh, legs. So on the example here, the legs are lighter in color, but for the purpose of this painting, I think I'm going to make the legs dark. So I'm going to use my mix that I just put over here, and this is what I'm going to use for the legs. And the legs are actually, they're very short. They go from here to go like this. And they don't really show because they're as dark as the branch. And the other leg is back here actually. So the other leg is like over here. Now that looks very funny because I painted the legs after I painted the body. So I'm going to add a little bit more of my red right on top here. Because the legs are under, they're under, shouldn't be painted on top there. Just a tiny little bit of white there. Nice. Okay, so now we are here with this bird. And the branch here looks a little funny. That tree could use a little work. And also in the background, I think we can work on that a little bit. So let's see. Before I continue, I think that the bird looks a little it looks a little flat. It needs to be brightened up, but I need to add more paint on my palette first. All right, so now because I have painted this whole section very dark, I'm losing the branch a little bit. So I think I need to lighten at least a little bit under the branch, which is what I'm going to do right now. So I'm using my nice green, adding just a little teeny little bit of light of white in it. I'm going to turn it upside down to do this. And see, just a little bit of white will lighten it. I'm not trying to create a sharp edge with the darker area below. And if I want to, I can make the tree a little bit thinner by doing this, like so. There. Didn't make it extremely lighter, but just a little bit. It makes it more interesting. Now for the bird. So this bird has got to be a little brighter, I think. It'll help. So I'm going to use red, a little yellow in my red, not too much, and some white. I'm actually going to use quite a bit of white. I'm going to whiten this. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to paint it red again. And when you're trying to lighten something in acrylic, that's when you realize that it dries a little darker than what you actually painted. So if you want to lighten something, you need to make it light enough. And I'm painting with a dry brush. So very little water on my brush. Sometimes the finger is the best. And now with the almost dry brush, just gonna go here, like this. Down here on the photo that I have anyway, see I'm still using the dry brush to do this, to lighten this. And I'm trying to make sure that I have enough white on my brush. I'm gonna let this dry and come back with more red on top. The teal is pretty good. And on here, there's an area that is lighter and an area that is darker. Okay. So this is done. While this is drying, I'm going to put a little bit more red on the beak, because although the beak appears to be almost yellow, there's a lot of redness right here, and where the line is. So the line could appear to be black, but we're going to make the line a red line. And here, more red. So this is just the alizarin crimson, no other colors in it. And this section also has a red. And I'm using the dry brush. And on top, on the ridge, there's some kind of darker area as well. So now I'm cleaning my brush completely. I'm going to clean it up like this. All right. And with some yellow, a little bit of white in my yellow. It's almost like a speckle of light on a reflective surface. I'm going to put that right here. And also right here. So now I have the red again. There, this is good. So now it's our beak. And all of this area that I had made very white, that I thought I had made very white, is not that white after all. But I'm going to, this other area, I'm going to paint it with some nice alizarin crimson red and a teeny little bit of my green, because it seems like it's almost maroon color on the photo right there in front of me. So to do this, I have to make sure that I don't leave any white on my brush first. So I'm painting with quite a bit of texture, I mean quite a bit of thickness. It goes like this. This whole section is quite dark. And goes all the way to the tail area of this wing. All right. And can put a little bit of it in here, right in the middle, and also right at the tail end. Now I'm going to clean my brush. Completely. Or if you have another brush, you can just use your other brush. That's what I'm going to do actually. And I'm going to use some nice red, a little bit of orange in it, I mean a little bit of yellow in it, not too much, because we still want a red bird. It's going to give me like a red orange. And with this, I'm going to repaint on top of that white. And that makes it a lot brighter, because I brighten it first. There. So the pasty white that we saw before, that we had created, no longer appears. I want to keep some of the lightness that I had created down here, but not all of it. Now that gives some nice colors to my bird. And I got to make sure that I put an eye in the eye socket of that bird. But before I do, I'm going to add some highlights on the wings. To make the highlights, I'm just going to mix white with red, And there's some highlights here. And again, I'm going with my dry brush. There. And there's some highlights here as well. And right here. Okay. In my brush completely, or use a totally different brush, and I'm going to use the pure red, alizarin crimson, to finish this portion. This goes to a little bit of a darker area. There, this is good. Okay. Now the legs. The legs have got to be repainted with the same, oh, the eye. The eye. So to do the eye, I'm going to create a nice deep green, add a little red to it, not too much, to give me almost like a gray, and add some white to this. And that's where I'm going to create this eye. The eye is round, is right here. Don't want it to be too light in color. And there's a speckle of light in it. My speckle's too big. I'm just gonna remove it. Now I have an eye. And I'm gonna repaint those legs with a nice deep rich green. I'm going to mix some of my red into it. And it's going to give me a nice rich brown. This is the wrong brush for it. I think I'm going to use this one instead. There. Even if you can't see them very well, as long as you indicate them, that's enough. I think the little ones are good. These ones, I think they're good. Just a little bit of darkness here at the bottom of the nest. And in this nice brown that I just created, I'm going to add a little white to just put a teeny bit of highlight on my tree. And maybe on the branch. Maybe on this. Doesn't have to be everywhere. Could be in certain places only. So voila. That's our bird. That's our cardinal.